say. There's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting not from a lush but lavish studio in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude.
Kind of lavish, though. I see that.
It's a Holiday Inn
accent wall.
Express, Joe, which raises the question.
I stand by my statement.
By Joe's standards, that is pretty much the Ritz-Carlton.
Look, it has an accent wall. Okay.
This is your definition of lush and lavish.
It is.
Well, you need to reach out to HR.
Joe doesn't get out of St. Louis much.
He doesn't. Not anymore.
So I am on the road. I'm the problem this week. So I am in Oklahoma City, dropping off my son for college. So
Taylor Swift
take two.
reference.
After the it was the last
right.
college. So, but so let's go around the virtual table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
It's me, Matt.
And this is Tom. So before we dig into the movie du jour, did I say the number? I don't think I did. It's 8:06, and we are talking Borderlands. So anyway, shameless plug. Don't forget we're real on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, TuneIn, not Google. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page in the group. It's called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week: Vanway, Librarian, Cynthia Criswell, Sam Lynn Powers, Pets, Ralph Tribble, Tom Dowdy, Richard Crosser, Julianne Jordan, Travis Tewitt, Glenn Cougar, Mellon Brewer, Gabriel Lugo, Chris Magic Man, Heather Sex, Edit Photo Gamer, Spoiler Piece Theater, David Rojas, Nostalgia Cast, Ryan Terry, Mike and Oscar, Binge Movies, In Session Film, Ronnie Castle, Geek to Me Radio, and of course you Patreon. So for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. And finally, you can watch all of these over on the YouTube if you want to see my glamorous hotel room at the Oklahoma City downtown Holiday Inn Express. So anyway, Borderlands. Let's dig in. You know what this reminds me of?
The thing.
So you guys aren't old enough to remember this, but when you were a kid and you wanted to see Star Wars, and then your parents have no idea what that means, and you end up seeing Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. This is that, but for Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think I've gone through a similar when I first started like renting tapes at Schnucks.
Yeah.
You know, and you're going like, well, I think I like sci-fi. I like Star Wars. This looks like that.
It says space.
And then you find out there's different levels of quality of films. But wait, I do need to preface all of this. I learned my lesson from my last episode. Deadpool and Wolverine, I was too negative. So I just want to come out of the gate saying I loved this movie.
That is a bold take, my friend.
So good. And, you know, they make different movies for different people. So if you didn't like this movie, can't say that. You're not allowed.
Wow,
Somebody
that's a really
did.
refreshing. That's a really refreshing take, Matt. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you changed your ways.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Anything for real spoilers.
It's like making movies
So-
is hard, and we need to
What is-
respect all of the work that went into this.
What is funny is, Tom, that you brought that up, is, again, at the Draft House, they show like weird clips in front of the movie, and they showed clips for that exact movie, or like space pirates, or like all of this different stuff. And I was like, initially I was like, you know that these aren't good movies. Did they get it? Did the Draft House get it ahead of time? And they're like, look, man, we get it.
I think
We're going to show you the shitty knockoffs.
All you need to know, this movie was filmed in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So here's the deal. The original script for this movie was written by the guy that did Chernobyl and The Last of Us TV series, Craig Mazin, who's an incredible writer. And this movie screwed up his script so bad, he took his name off of the movie.
So did they do a Suicide Squad, like the first Suicide Squad, where it was like a complete gut job of the script?
Apparently, Eli Roth screwed this script up so much, and Joe, I know you love Eli
I
Roth.
can't stand Eli Roth.
Well, hold on. I don't know if we can totally blame Eli, because according to IMDb trivia, which
It's
always
never
true,
wrong. Yeah.
the studio was appalled by the film's extreme violence and wanted to market it as a blockbuster. Hired Tim Miller to do excessive reshoots. I don't know if. I mean,
I
I'm
know
not
how much
one of those,
Matt loves Deadpool.
Wait a minute,
So the fact that Tim
hold
Miller.
Release the Roth cut? Is that what you're
release
telling
the
me?
Roth cut. I mean, I'm not a guy that's like everything has to be rated R, you know. But I do think if something is shot intended to be rated R.
And do you think if it's a movie based on a video game that's violent and all about guns and explosions and killing and graphic humor, maybe it should be rated R?
Well,
So I've
especially
never
if,
played this
if it
game.
was shot as a hard R, right? Like there are some movies that just barely tip into an R rating, and you're like, oh, like get rid of that one bowl of semen and we're good,
Right.
Right. And
Right.
but if you're shooting it as a hard R, like that's going to be a radical shift.
But
Yeah.
but the other thing is too though is that the script is so aggressively unfunny. Like every single scene where they wink at the camera and try to be jokey about it, like it's such a dull movie, and I don't think my audience laughed one time.
The
It's
only-
crazy.
So I was apparently at a showing with Max Cady, because
Tom, were we at the same theater?
because there was one guy that just thought like it was like he just got out of prison and was watching Problem Child. Like he loved it, and
Wow.
and he was very weird. But yeah, I probably not, because I go to the Creve Coeur AMC. That doesn't seem like that's close to you.
It was a lady at mine. It was
Oh,
a
okay.
lady.
And he loved the robot. Loved the robot.
So I will
that
say
Claptrap is the best part of the movie. That's
He-
the only character they got right.
that was the only Jack
being
Black.
the
Right?
prettiest Denny's waitress.
That's also true.
I know, but like all the characters are so wrong
not much
and the
of it.
performances are so bad. Jack Black actually understood the assignment. You know, Jack
Yeah.
Black loves video games. He plays games. He had a YouTube channel called Jablinski Gaming where he goes and plays games. So like the dude is into this stuff, and he's doing the Claptrap thing, and that's one of the most popular characters from the series. And I'm not saying his stuff was like incredible, but it at least matched the tone of the character.
The only time I laughed at his jokes is when they were understated. When he was like making fun of.
I thought it was great when he thought she would be dead. Like he's like
That was
like,
fine.
It's not like the jokes are the funniest thing in the world, but it matches the tone of the character.
This
It was
movie
funny,
was
like-
having a third grader
Oh boy.
scream a scholastic joke book at you for an hour
Yeah.
and 46 minutes.
I think the thing is, James Gunn was able to capture lightning in a bottle 3 times, right? Well, 4 times, I guess, technically, with
But
the Suicide
it's not
Squad.
lightning in a bottle though. But Joe, he's a really good writer and really
That's
funny.
true.
He's
If
good at
you're-
what he does.
If you're
you
doing
know?
it repeatedly, you're not capturing something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just
fair.
good
That's
at
fair.
it.
I just mean
That's-
like people
that's
have
just
tried
talent.
to copy that.
yeah.
People have tried to
Yeah.
copy that first Guardians. Not even the first Guardians. The 3 Guardians movies, like that style
like-
of film.
Michael Jordan. Man, every time I just capture lightning in a bottle.
I won
time
those
he went
6
out there.
championships. It was just so weird.
And
Reminds
honestly,
me of
I think the
Zeus.
only movie that's tried to emulate Guardians of the Galaxy that's even gotten close,
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
I could see that.
Yeah, that's the one that got
But
the
even
closest.
even that, right, is like it's the ragtag
Yeah,
group of
Yeah,
misfits
but there's
hanging out.
There's an extra
but it was funny. It worked.
tick to it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying that they didn't. I guess I'm saying like it's weird that that's sort of a trope. You'd almost think it must be easy
Right.
because it's like a thing people fall back on to make movies, but then I guess it's actually hard because a lot of them suck.
Well, I think it's hard to capture. It's hard to walk that line of like being the Guardian, like that Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Like it's not an easy thing to. Well, we've found that it's not an easy thing because nobody has been able to do it since.
Well, I do think there's a thing of like if you have characters in your movie telling you that the other main characters suck over and over, like you're awful, you're the worst person, you're a piece of shit, And then you either go like, oh, this is funny, they're in an argument, or what happened in this movie, I think, is you start to go, you know what? I think you're
It's a
right.
valid
Well, I
piece
think
of
that I think that's a
advice.
great.
This
That's a,
lady's rude.
that's a
Yeah.
great call, is because people do in the Guardians. People are constantly shitting on Star-Lord, but he's always coming out on he's always winning. Like they may get put in jail, but he finds a way out. Like there's
Well,
Yeah.
we know enough about him in the movie, right? To know, like, yeah, he's a little bit of a
Loser?
bungling dweeb, but like we know he's a good guy, kind of. We've seen enough to know. But like Lilith, Cate Blanchett's character, she just seems mean. She's
it's
just
wild
killing
that Cate
people and,
Blanchett
like,
is in this movie.
Really, what it comes down to, and I know people, it's kind of become cool to shit on Chris Pratt lately, but he is charming, and
Yeah.
and you root for him, especially in that role, and even when he's doing something kind of shitty. But Cate Blanchett, an amazing actress, and certainly
Absolutely.
a better actor than Chris Pratt is, and I think Chris Pratt would tell you that. But
Sure.
she doesn't have that sort of presence on screen, and so
She's not charismatic. I've never
Not
said
in that
Cate
way.
Blanchett's charismatic.
Yeah,
I mean, she's a great actor, but
right. But and then it was weird. She did this weird stance. Did you know she always stood like the same way, where she would like cock her hip to the side and like bend her
I
leg,
wonder
like,
if that was a note. Like we want you to stand like the character stands in the video game.
is
Well, the
like
other thing
so
is-
I have to point
You
out.
don't see the character.
I-
mean, I guess for
I did
co-op,
not
but-
know this was based on a video game until it said it. I saw it in the end credits as I was sprinting from the theater.
oh wow,
oh wow.
And so
I was sprinting from the
I
theater.
had no clue that this was a video game property. I've never heard of it, and so like
That's really interesting.
and so I spent the whole movie like, why the hell would you name a planet Pandora if your movie's coming out a decade after Avatar?
Oh,
like-
that's really funny.
So
Yeah.
from the jump, I was irritated with this movie. So
yeah, no, I mean, so this
how many
for
how many
people-
entries are there, Kevin?
So yeah, for people that don't know about the video games, there's 3 main titles and there's a bunch of spin-offs. So Borderlands 1, this movie is kind of a combination of characters from Borderlands 1 and 2. Claptrap comes in 2. He's become kind of the de facto mascot of the series. And then Borderlands 2 had a pre-sequel, was a spin-off, and then there's Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is a spin-off of, I guess,
I don't
during
mean
or
to
in
be
between 2 and
pedantic. What's a pre-sequel? Is that different than a prequel?
it's
Well,
funny.
so here's the thing, Tom. The Borderlands games are really, really funny. Like legitimately,
Right.
laugh out loud. The writing's hilarious. The characters are hilarious. The Borderlands games are known for their humor, and this movie gets so far away from the humor of the games, like none of it hits. Where the games are really fun to play. So when they make a prequel, they called it a pre-sequel because it's all tongue in cheek. It's all jokey.
Oh,
Okay.
they were
in
being
the
like
games.
okay, so like when Douglas Adams called it the 4th book in the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, got it. It's
Exactly. So,
translated into old-timey nerd references for me.
yeah. So there's been a bunch of, obviously in video games you have DLC, so like each game's had DLC, but there were actual spin-offs. So the pre-sequel and then Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is really funny. If you mentioned
Is that
Dungeons,
is that the character from this movie?
the character's so different.
sort of.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, it's
okay,
by
okay.
name, yeah. But Tiny Tina's a really hilarious, foul-mouthed little kid in the games. Like she's younger in the games, and again, like she's very. Like this movie should be rated R. The humor should be rated R. The gore should be rated R. But anyway, they did a spin-off game called Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and Tiny Tina is doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and so you're playing the game as a first-person shooter like Borderlands, but she's changing the levels, and it's really funny, and it's just a really fun game. So those are kind of the 2 main spin-offs, and then like I said, there's tons of DLCs, and there's a Tales from the Borderlands, which is like a Telltale game, which that studio
Oh.
doesn't exist, but you know you.
I gotta tell you, that studio made some real good games.
Yeah,
And it's-
Walking Dead, Batman,
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. So it's one of those. It's like point and click, a modern update on point and click adventures, choose your own adventure type thing. So there's been some great Borderlands games, and this movie basically captures none of what makes that series great. And I will say, knowing that it was filmed during COVID, I'm sure that was difficult. But you can't excuse the fact that they took a rated R property and butchered it into a PG-13 cut. That's what's
It is.
messed up.
That is messed up. You'd think they would have learned. I mean, obviously, it's a different studio that did the Suicides, not the Suicide Squad, but the
Right.
other Suicide Squad.
You gotta go the Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad that no longer exists. And this feels very similar. Like, I thought, when that we've talked about it a billion times, but when that second trailer for the Suicide Squad came out, and it was all the Queen songs and the bright colors and the character intros, and you're like, okay, like maybe and then you get to the movie and it's like, this is not what was in the trailer at all. This movie felt like it was that, except when they redid that Suicide Squad cut and they added that stuff, I felt like this just had that sheen on it the entire time.
What this movie really suffers from, again, because of the COVID pandemic, so it's a shame because, like, they're not going to make another one of these now, right? Like, this movie's so bad and failed. But you know what I mean? Like, but again, the games are incredible. There's a huge fandom. They sell well. I mean, they're great. And so this movie should have been really good. Now they've screwed it up to where it's never going to get another chance at it. But happening during COVID, one thing I noticed during this whole movie is it feels very isolated. Everything feels very, very sterile, very isolated, like the characters are hardly even near each other. You know what I mean? There's just that feeling, and you can tell that's because it was filmed during COVID. So it's a shame that they had to be in that situation.
It is. We've talked about video game movies before where studios just don't understand what makes the video game fun for the people that have enjoyed it. I'm currently playing not the new Star Wars game, but the second of the Fallen Order series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jedi Survivor.
Yes.
Right?
It's the fact that I'm like, this could be a movie. Like, it doesn't involve anything that has to do with Luke Skywalker or Rey or any of that.
Right.
It's a completely
Which
different
is
character.
what the movie should be doing, right?
That's what I'm saying, is like,
Yeah.
if they can do this in a video game, I don't understand why this can't transfer to film. We've talked about it with Uncharted. We've talked about it with...
Especially when, the take used to be that, well, the stakes are lower in video games, but they're really not anymore.
Not anymore.
Like, the games are super expensive to make, and they generate just insane amounts of profit when they work. I mean, it's really become the same business model. So, like, why can't it work in video games but not in movies? And the only thing I can think is that, like, for this particular movie, you probably had a studio of people like me who had no idea what this property was, and then they don't even really believe that it has a fan base because it means nothing to them. Like, they've
or I think it's very possible that it's whatever 60, 50-year-old dudes who didn't play the games, but they run a movie studio and they go, yeah, video games. It's like 12-year-old kids.
Right.
Sure, we'll make a movie like that. But the Borderlands 2 came out in 2012. I would call that around the peak of Borderlands. So in a way, I think this movie is like a decade too late.
Yeah.
Which seems to happen with a lot of video game stuff too. That Halo series that just came out, Uncharted.
The only one that stands out is The Last of Us.
I would say even that came a little oddly. No, maybe not. The second one had just. Nope, never mind.
But
Take it back. That one's fine.
But if you're telling the story of the first game was over a decade ago.
That's true. But that show captures the tone, the feel, everything of the game.
But even Borderlands is still popular. It's just on its decline. It's not like it was.
3 wasn't that great, right? So like Borderlands 1 was amazing, 2 was amazing. I really liked the pre-sequel. 3 was okay, but it was starting to feel a little repetitive. Like they're kind of going back to the same well, and there were some glitches and people just didn't enjoy it as much. So you're right, they're catching it kind of where it needs something to save it. Now, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands kind of revitalized thing,
right.
But again, then you made the character horrible. That actress
is
so bad in this movie.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin, because I do want to talk about the cast of this movie. You have Cate Blanchett, who I think is probably one of the best actors
She's incredible
in the business right now, right? And she has, I was kind of shocked to see her in this, but then I was like, well, she was in Thor. Like, she did play Hela in Thor, but that was a very different character.
She said she was going crazy in her garden during COVID, so she wanted to get out and do something fun.
Okay, that
and
tracks.
Something that she didn't have to take too seriously. So, in theory, that could have really worked. Now, there is a huge age difference between the characters, and that's not trying to be ageist or whatnot, but it is interesting putting a woman of her age in the character of Lilith. I mean, do you agree, Matt, that there's just something that seems a little...
When I first heard about it, I did think, well, that's interesting. They must have a reason for doing
Right.
that. And then it turns out it's not interesting at all. It's just weird. It's just,
Right.
why did they do that?
Is Lilith the main character of the games?
She's
You
an-
can pick. In the first Borderlands, right, there's 4 characters you can pick from.
Okay.
I think Kevin Hart's character's in the first one. As
Okay,
just
so
a playable.
like Kevin Hart kind of makes sense in this movie. I
Ooh,
can see, except
not
it,
as
it
that
doesn't-
character.
I thought
Oh,
he was
okay.
horrible.
He was he was
He's like
terrible.
a-
But I'm like having
he
him in this
disappears
movie.
for like half the movie. Not
That
I'm
is also
complaining,
true.
but he just like,
But, like-
goes away.
But I mean, Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart in the way that like Nicolas Cage is kind of usually Nicolas Cage. I mean, Kevin Hart, just like The Rock is usually The Rock, Kevin Hart is usually Kevin Hart.
They did not let him
And-
be Kevin Hart.
And he isn't. He's the furthest thing away from Kevin Hart in this movie. They didn't let him be funny. He was playing a serious, badass, hard-edged soldier, you know, and it just
Well,
it didn't work at all,
I
in my
think
opinion.
that's also weird, and this is a thing that it's like the way humor's done sometimes in movies. It really drives me nuts. Where they're like, "Let's be funny all the time, no matter what."
Mm-hmm.
But,
Oh,
so the
Matt,
first
don't
thing he
start.
does-
Don't start. It got you in trouble last time.
Here it comes. The first thing he does is he opens that door to Tina's cell or whatever, and then takes a helmet off, and he's like, "Ugh, there's no air holes in that thing." Yeah, there are. What are you talking about? And he's part of this group, right? Like we find out or knew
I thought he
then that
infiltrated.
he's-
Is that not right?
No, he's a soldier that
No.
went rogue.
Oh,
He's
right.
part of the people trying to hunt them down.
got
and
it. Got
we
it. Got
see
it.
people wearing
That helmet.
that helmet all the time. Now in Star Wars, when he's like, "All stormtrooper, you're a little short for a star," whatever. You know, they talk about the outfit or something, and it like makes sense in the world and like what is happening. But this is just like, say a funny thing, and thinking about it micro step further is like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
You can't, Matt. But yeah.
But
you're right.
well, but then also, and we've talked about this, in a bad, boring movie,
You start.
that's all you're doing. Your mind is
Yeah.
just wandering around.
Yes.
and you're constantly going, "What are you talking about?" They shoot.
The Star Wars thing. I agree with you. When he says you're a little short for a stormtrooper, we know that stormtroopers are clones, so they should all be the same height. We don't know that.
They're not clones in the original trilogy. By that time,
Oh, they are.
I don't.
They're clones in Episode 2. They're clones.
They're clones in
Jango
episode 2.
So they would be clones in Episode 4.
I know. Well,
But
let's
but
not.
If it was
but
truly
the,
right.
written
Let's-
in that order, then yes.
sure.
Yeah.
But by the time we get to Finn, that's not a group of clones. That's a group of like
Right.
orphaned children.
Yeah.
As it should be.
What about like the part where they shoot through the big worm? They're driving the truck, and he's like, "I have a plan." Shoots through the worm's mouth. They drive out the hole that they blow in it, and then Lilith goes, "You call that a plan?" What? And he even said, I mean, he does go, "It worked, didn't it?" But it that would have even made more sense if it like went wrong first, and then they like.
But it did go right.
But you're right, Matt. It goes back to every single thing has to be a joke. And when you have bad writing and the jokes don't land, that's a terrible way to make a movie where everything has to be a joke, but none of them hit.
The joke in that scene should be they land, they all kind of look at each other, and he says, I don't know, something like, "I can't believe that worked." And then they just
Or
keep
just-
going.
Sometimes I think now we've
just-
done so
or just
much
don't
of the
say anything.
snarky.
Yeah.
There's been so much snarky, like we're all mean to each other humor. If they landed and went like, "Hey man, great plan, good job," like that would be funnier than being like,
When do you think that
dumb
started?
idiot."
When do you I feel like that snark, I didn't notice it as obviously it's in Guardians, right? They're all kind of sniping at each other in Guardians. But I feel like that what was the Fast and Furious with just Rock and Statham?
Oh, Hobbs
Oh,
and Shaw.
jeez.
where
Hobbs
it
and
was
Shaw,
a
right? Like
borderline,
that-
You're like, are they gonna kiss? It was like,
yeah, because it's like a rom-com.
Yeah.
They
It
hate
is.
each other. They hate each other.
But like that was the one that I remember being like, Jesus Christ, like can
well,
you guys
I
just
think,
lay off
I
of
think
each
the
other?
reason it was so noticeable in Hobbs and Shaw is that I think it was literally contractual.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if one guy got hit, then the other guy got hit. If
Yeah.
one guy got in a zinger, then the other guy got in a zinger. And so it was like nobody could. It's like this is gonna be a weird thing. It's like the end of that song, "It's 5 o'clock Somewhere" by Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett. And then like at the end of the song, they're like riffing, and like neither one of them
Ad-libbing,
wants to
yeah.
have wants to let the other guy have the last line. Oh, Jimmy, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. That it is, Alan. Guess we should get going. Maybe we should. I think you're right. I think I am right. Maybe it's like they just keeps going. And
Yeah, right.
and like that's what these movies do. And
Tom, what was the name of that song from?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
No. There was remember that like trendy Three Musketeers movie with Oliver Platt and Charlie Sheen.
Everything
What was the
I do it for you. And
But that was what was the one with Sting and Rod Stewart and Bryan Adams? There were two songs from that movie. There was one with "Everything I Do It For You" was by Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
Then there was another one with the three
was it
of
like
them.
One
and
for All?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Where
that
it
was the
like
same thing.
all three of them singing, and I'm like, this is really starting to feel like slash fiction. Like what?
But it was the
going
same
on in
thing
this
where like
song?
none of them would give, like they were all kind of like Rod Stewart had just come back, like was having a career
From
resurgence.
getting his stomach pumped.
Correct.
Spaceballs.
Sting
They forgot
was,
to edit it out.
They
the
did not
bowl.
edit it out. Yeah, Sting was kind of doing it, top of his game, and I'm wearing a shirt right now. Just gonna put that out there.
It's a different Sting, but go on.
I'll allow it. And then
What
there
if
was
it wasn't? What if
It's just
it
face
really
paint.
was the same person?
that would be the greatest thing in the world. He actually, I think this Sting owns the rights to the name because I think he was Sting first.
Oh crap, we're in wrestling corner now, aren't
Sorry,
we?
that's as
Oh,
far as we'll go.
no.
That's as far as we'll go. That's as far as we'll go.
We got to get out.
Tolkien would have owned the name to Sting, but go on.
Oh, that's true. But and then Bryan Adams was also, Bryan Adams at that point, and that was a song where I felt like they were all trying to get the end, like, well, this is my song, but
Yeah.
I got Rod Stewart and
Right.
Bryan Adams, and but that,
It's
yeah,
me
this
featuring
felt
them, not the other way around. Yeah.
correct, and this movie felt the same way. And then, so you've got Kevin Hart, you've got Cate Blanchett, and then all of a sudden, here comes Jamie Lee Curtis, who does not like. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is also a fantastic actress. She's had like one go at like these big budget action movies, and that was True Lies, and that works because she plays a fantastic character in that. But for the most part of her career, it's been kind of smaller scale stuff. And then she's in this, and I was like, "What? How did you
she
get
played
Jamie
a
Lee
very-
Curtis?"
She played a very silly character in Everything Everywhere All at Once, right?
That's
Think about
very
the-
true.
Think
But
about
she
the
would have
humor
filmed
and the
this
things.
after that.
So maybe she thought
Yeah,
she was going to
that's
get
what I'm saying. So
another
she-
shot at that kind of wacky.
But yeah, I think that that character proves that she's open to doing more fun roles. And I also think this is Eli Roth probably going like, I want to work with an actor I grew up watching in all these movies. Like
Yeah.
at this point, he's assembling this team of different people that either are, up and Kevin Hart is a pretty popular actor, and then Cate Blanchett's a really good actor, and then he probably grew up watching Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm just guessing that he's getting names where he's like, well, I'm going to pick some people that I want to work with. So
How much
you're right.
how much did he love Creed? Because the guy that plays the guy in the mask is Dolph Lundgren's son in Creed 2.
Oh, I was wondering who that was because
Yeah.
I mean, you hardly see his face at all, and I couldn't. I'm like, who did they get to be this
It
main
was
character?
we didn't talk about it. In Deadpool and Wolverine, do you remember seeing the Russian from the
Yeah,
Punisher
yeah,
movie?
Punisher.
No.
In the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, he fights
Yeah.
who's Kevin Nash in the
Red and white stripe.
Yeah,
shirt.
and then you
Yeah.
see him in
Oh yeah.
Gambit blows him up with a card, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, we didn't really talk about that, about all the random characters that were at her thing, but I was like, that's funny that they brought back the
Yeah.
Russian, but not Kevin Nash, because we
Some
can't.
deep cuts.
yeah, big time.
Different
So-
variant.
Different variant. That's true.
So anyone, Jack Black plays Claptrap, who I think is a perfect choice for that character.
fine.
And I think he understands the assignment. He's doing his thing. That it is what it is. But other than that, I think let's just get into the plot of this thing, so it's not over an hour.
basically, Kevin Hart is this rogue soldier for the Atlas Corporation. Is that a thing in the game? The Atlas Corporation.
Atlas is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
and he is breaking out this girl that we believe is the owner's daughter.
Does Kevin Hart say your father sent me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he
That's so
did in that
weird.
opening scene.
Because she's in the Atlas lab, right?
Oh, I don't know
Or
where
whatever.
she's being kept.
She's like in her house, essentially. I think.
I don't institutionalized in the same facility. I don't know if someone has kidnapped her or if they're in. Yeah,
I thought
that's
she
a
was.
great
I thought
question.
he was going to break her out.
Well,
Is
that's
it
what-
possible that there was a version that is what
oh,
happened?
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and they just didn't. I don't know.
But
It's very
essentially,
confusing.
To take a step back, basically the whole thing in Borderlands is they're all trying to get to a vault. So these this ragtag team in all the games is always trying to get into the vaults. If you find the key to the vault, you can open it. So in this movie, they make it that a person is the key, not
Is
a
that and,
physical
and that is
actual
that is
key.
not a thing in the game, right? That a person
No,
that a
I don't-
person
I don't
is the
That's
key.
what I'm saying. Yeah. So
Okay.
so that's not how it works in the game. So in this, they make it kind of a switcheroo with who the person could actually be, but we're led to believe that Tina is the key to open the vault. Spoilers later on, whatever, it's revealed she's the key, and that's why Atlas is keeping her and whatever. So Roland is trying to break her out under false pretenses, and essentially he wants to open the vault, I guess, and so he's saving her.
What
and-
I got to tell you, the most anticlimactic ending to a movie I think I've ever seen. Like when they build it all up, I'm just going to tell you now. When they build it all up and they get the guy from Atlas into the vault, and he's just like, "I've done it," and then he gets swept away by a Cthulhu monster, and they're like, "Never mind, we're done."
And then they have
and
a
just
party
fly
on
away.
Endor. And it's great.
Um,
Can you imagine if like a bunch of criminals went and killed Elon Musk, and then there was a big party in New York City or something?
easy
Yeah.
slick,
Right?
We might want to edit that out.
Envision that. Like,
I'm saying, how would they even know? He was just the head
let's
of
not, let's get through the plot of this movie.
You're
We
right,
can
you're
get
right,
there.
you're right,
yeah,
you're
so-
get there within an hour. We
So
can talk about
we
that.
were then introduced. We were then introduced to Lilith by Cate Blanchett, and she is like this badass bounty hunter.
Oh, hold on. Psycho does bust through some glass, and then they go, "Okay, you can be a main character too."
Yeah, okay. I mean, I hate getting caught up in this. You're right, though. The Psycho, one of the main characters from Borderlands, which is the guys with the white mask with the vault symbol over it, all that stuff. So he's in this institution. He breaks through the glass that I guess he could have just broken through the glass at any time, but somehow he doesn't until the breakout happens. And then he's this murderous guy, but he's like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll save this girl and go on an adventure with you."
I thought they were already a thing. I thought he was already protecting her.
No, there's
I don't
no
think so.
way.
Oh,
That's not part of the game. That's not part of this movie. The Psycho breaks out. He's a psycho. He's supposed to be this. You saw the psychos in this movie, right? They go see more of them.
yeah.
He's one of them. I mean, maybe not as bad as the bad ones they say, but he's one of them. And then he breaks out and is like, "Oh yeah, I'll save this girl and go on an adventure and be normal, not a psycho." Like that doesn't
I
make
think
any
Kevin
sense.
Hart literally says something like, "Let's be friends, big guy."
Yeah,
That's it. Okay. He should say that to all the psychos.
the premise
I guess
of it is like they're
Should've-
crazy. They
should
kill
have
people.
said that to all the psychos.
Now, I mean, I guess you play as one in the game, so I guess in theory this is the one that you play as
Sure,
in the first
yeah.
game, which obviously in the first game you're doing good guy stuff. So, but they don't really explain it through any characterization. They're just like, "You're a psycho, you break out, and now we're cool." It's a very strange setup, but whatever. So they're off to the races. You
Yeah.
meet Cate Blanchett.
And she gets hired by the Atlas Corporation to find his daughter and bring her back. So she gets a payment right off the bat, and she's like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it." So she ends up tracking. She goes back to Pandora. We kind of get a brief history where she used to live here, like this was her old home. We find out that she believes that her mom was died going after the vault. Right, that's what I'm led to believe. Is
I
she's mad at her
think
mom
so.
for going after the vault? But we see that that's not the case, and her daughter knows that that's not the case.
She was 8 years old, or I mean, she looked even older in the. She says she was 8, I think, But that's not right. I mean, if your mom
She's
said,
old enough to know that like her mom didn't go after the vault. She was like their village was under attack, and she was like giving her to Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
And in the flashback, she's saying like, "That's you. That's your people. That's." And we don't get any kind of like. And then I bonked my head, and I don't remember.
And I don't remember anything. I got shot with
Also-
an adamantium bullet, and I don't remember anything.
Jamie Lee Curtis is 10 years older than Cate Blanchett. the woman that her mother said, Jamie Lee Curtis, you're in charge of my daughter, would have been, I guess, a 10-year-old girl. And then that's how it. They show it in a flashback that Jamie Lee Curtis
really
looks
funny.
to
So
be.
she's 10 years older, and if she was 8, she'd have been 18 then, right?
You think Jamie Lee Curtis looked like she was 18 in that flashback?
Oh no, you're right. You're right. But still,
Yeah,
I don't think it's responsible of the mother to put an 18-year-old put that
Well,
upon an
you were making
18-year-old.
choices in a post-apocalyptic way. So I think
Yeah.
you
Okay.
need to give them a little.
All right.
bit of
You know
latitude.
what? You're right. You're right. I'm gonna say it. You're right.
And she was
the
also
movie.
like gonna be killed if she didn't give her to her. I mean, at some
The
point you
movie
have
has
to-
done this to me. The movie has made me too nitpicky.
Mhm.
This is a completely
You-
fine
see,
plot
this
point.
this is like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, Matt. You have to reserve your criticisms for real criticisms, or else none of them count. People are going to go, "Oh,
True.
Matt just complains about everything. Wolverine and Deadpool was good, and he complains about
Although once pointed out to me the error of my ways, I'm fine going. You're right. This part's fine. And Jamie Lee
I'll
The
allow
Curtis.
world needs more of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
Tom is not wrong.
everything." Are you saying you want less Jamie Lee Curtis cleavage?
Oh my dude, when she stands up and her
think
boobs
this is
are
Eli
front
Roth
and
doing
center,
some
and I
wish
was like,
fulfillment.
Jesus, you see her in True Lies, and she is built like a brick
Do you
house.
think
in
Eli
True Lies,
Roth-
trading
Great
places.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, good Lord.
My only thought was that he grew up watching those movies, and he decided he was gonna.
If there's a way I can get
Fulfill
Jamie Lee
something.
Curtis to show her boobs. Cate Blanchett was the same way. Cate Blanchett's boobs were pushed up, like she's wearing like a tank top, and they were pushed up out over the tank top. And it's like,
It's just because I'm just telling you, and again, nothing wrong with the ages of these
No,
actors, and they're
no.
great actors, but in the games, they're younger, and so it's a weird. You're playing a character who's
I
a
didn't
much
even- I
different
don't-
age.
I think the bigger problem for me with the ages was that they didn't make any sense in relation to the other characters and where they were supposed to be in that particular timeline. Like,
oh, sure.
going back to like she's 8 and then Jamie Lee Curtis, like that age difference, it is hard to suss out, especially with the actress chosen to play her. Like, it just gets very I know that's the first thing we said when we got done watching the movie. Crystal was like, I don't understand the ages of any of the main
Anybody.
characters. Yeah.
Because the actors don't match the character
Right.
ages,
Same,
and again,
the same thing
that's
with,
not.
with Tina. Like, she didn't understand Christina's age. What, like,
Yeah.
is she supposed to be 17? Is she supposed to be 11? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I couldn't tell you.
And that actor, Ariana Greenblatt, who plays Tina, like I said, is just not good. Tiny Tina's a hilarious character in the games. I mean, Matt, you can probably back me up here.
Yeah,
she's really funny, really fun character, and every line that came out of her mouth. I mean, and again, the writing's bad.
Cringe.
Don't get me wrong, but like that actor is just like she was not delivering those lines in a way that.
So Lilith goes to Pandora. She gets the job. She goes to Pandora to find Tiny Tina, or Tina, I guess.
Tina,
She's
I guess, yeah.
regular size
Regular
Tina.
Regular size Tina.
And that's interesting because she's like, she gets to Pandora, does a thing or something, and then starts this narration of like, so some stuff happened, and then I went here, and it feels very like
We didn't
Like,
film
you guys-
like
a
we
bunch
didn't
of stuff
film this
out.
stuff.
did
Yeah.
something. But so she finds where I guess Claptrap shows up, and that's interesting. There's a whole thing where Claptrap's like, I was programmed to take care of you.
It's R2D2.
Yeah,
But that we never. I mean, I guess we are to assume that Jamie Lee Curtis or her mom.
No, her mom. Her mom
Mom
did
did.
it because
Did they
there's
show
the
that?
video.
Did I miss?
No,
it
but
somehow?
you do see a Princess Leia style "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, your only hope" video
it's
that
very
filmed
much-
by the mom.
Okay.
So on
very much a
Claptrap.
rip-off of R2D2. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
And that's not a
Um,
thing in the game.
Can we isolate that part? I just want to save that for the rest of my life. That Kevin's saying I'm 100% absolutely correct.
Whoa.
gonna
So
make
the
that right
the
down.
antithesis of last week. M. Night Shyamalan. what was the one?
It was the daughter. I got the daughters
M.
mixed
Night
up.
Shyamalan was not involved in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, M. Night Shyamalan was not involved in Pearl Harbor. I'm just putting that out there, just making sure everybody's aware.
He's way too young to
Whoa.
be responsible.
So she finds where Tina is because Claptrap has this amazing thing they never use again where you can just find anybody. Seems like it'd come in handy. I don't know. But she walks into the little house they have thing, and Tina's trying to trick her and be like, it's great, you're saving me. And she says, please grab my badonkadonk.
She did say that.
It's so bad. Like what? Who thought that was funny? And I think to Tom's point, if you have a bunch of studio execs who think, oh yeah, video games, these must be 9-year-olds playing it. Let's make it that type of humor. Like I don't think they understand. No one.
Do you think
people in
they-
their 30s are playing these games?
But do you think they even know the phrase badonkadonk?
They thought that was hip and funny?
But they know what it means.
It was in a
Yes,
country
they
song,
would-
so presumably.
Oh,
They wouldn't put that in there if they didn't know, but they thought that was a funny joke where we're just like, what, that's
why would she?
It wasn't
Why would she?
delivered funny?
Why would she grab her butt?
And how, again, it comes like, is Tina 10 years old? Like, it's weird. It's just
Why is
weird.
she saying grab my badonkadonk? Yeah, it's just bad. That's all that's to it. But so Tiny Tina is in the games very like nutty. She's just like erratic, and it's funny because she's so little, but she's blowing things up and has all these weapons. And so in the movie, like all these stuffed animals are bombs, which talk about a bad looking CG
was
scene
real
throwing bunny bombs. But anyway, so she blows her up, and it's supposed to be like, oh crap, and Cate Blanchett narrowly escapes out of the house blowing up, to trick her or whatever. And then she's basically chasing after Tina and Roland are escaping from Atlas. So that's a whole thing where, you know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like everyone is converging. Everyone's doing this chase for Tina and ultimately for the vault.
You know, as I was watching them try to put this team together, it's insanely hard to not reference Guardians of the Galaxy, and how almost seamlessly James Gunn was able to put that team together, and it made sense, right?
Well, he's a really good writer, Joe. That's the thing.
I agree,
yeah.
but like I'm just like if you're gonna copy the formula, like it shouldn't be, here's the template. I'm just gonna do my own thing. It's like, no, like there's a reason this works. Like there's a reason.
But Joe, like the thing is though, is that again, I think the thing is James Gunn is not. He didn't create the formula.
No.
He's a really good writer, and he did a really good job of getting the team together.
Right.
But there's lots of movies that have gotten the team together, and some of them really work, and some of them are really bad. So this movie, I think, because it has kind of a space setting, is why it's being related to Guardians of the Galaxy. But there's lots of movies that have done this, and he's a good writer, so he's able to do it really well. Again, like Craig Mazin wrote the original screenplay. This should have been really good. I mean, think about the shows that he has done. And The Last of Us is a video game adaptation.
Yeah.
R-rated, violent,
So
just
he gets
really
it.
good writing. And he gets it, he does, but the fact that he took his name off this project, clearly they didn't use Mazin's script very much. They butchered it, and they turned it into something that is just, they thought was funny. And two, it was probably a really bad movie based on things out of their control, right? COVID-19, they had some really bad stuff. And so they probably said the only way to salvage this thing is to take away, this is me speaking, take away the one good thing about it is that it's gory and rated R.
Yeah, right.
And so they then took away the saving grace because they thought, oh, we have to save it by being PG-13. But in doing so, they alienated everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at Deadpool and Wolverine's a rated R movie that is the highest grossing rated R movie of all time in 8 days.
Despite that,
Love to see the demographic of people that went to see Deadpool and Wolverine, because it has to dip into 13,
oh, it's got to be
14.
it's got to be the exact same demo.
I'm not saying exclusively. I'm just saying that like
It's scooped
there
up
are
too
kids going to
much money to not be pulling in people who are theoretically too young to be going to that movie.
whose parents
shows
wouldn't
you-
go, whoa, not Borderlands though.
20, so sure. In 2024, I think what people have to realize is that you can make a ton of money in rated R, and people are not as weird about kids that are 15, 16, 17, going to rated R movies.
Yeah.
So don't take away, this movie is all based on crazy guns and explosions, and you're blowing people up. Like, it is a rated R game,
I
essentially.
will also say with Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously, like the first Deadpool made money, or we wouldn't get more of them. but like
Yeah.
parents also at this point have seen the Deadpool movies. They've had a way to watch them and know, like, when you go to Deadpool Wolverine where the line is for what the level of raunch and violence is going to be,
It does seem like they do need like a new rating of like it's violent, but it's not like traumatic.
Yeah.
There's a
like
difference between Deadpool violence and what I think we're going to see next week. I think
you guys
there's
watching Martyrs?
We're watching Martyrs, yeah. But I think the violence in Deadpool and Wolverine is very comic booky.
Yeah.
Like, it's very jokey and silly. I think next week with Alien, it is not going to be jokey.
I cannot wait
It's
for that
not
movie.
going to be like a fun, like, oh, look at that
Yeah.
chest burster. I'm like, that's going to suck. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to
There's
be some
difference between
gore.
Yeah.
Deadpool and like body horror.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It's
Yes.
not traumatizing, and this movie should have been a video game. The violence should be very exaggerated, and that's where the humor comes from, is the weird kills. This is like kind of like a Mortal Kombat game, right? Like, it's the kills, it's violent, but it's so wacky and extreme that, like, if you take that away because you're like, oh, we got to make this PG-13, or we have to sell more video games, there's going to be no violence, people would go, what are we doing here? That's what I come to these games for. And you come to this movie hoping that there will be some fun kills and guns, and like the guns are such a huge part of the games. And in this movie, you see maybe like 2 or 3 different kinds of guns.
I think you
there's
see
hundreds.
Lilith's got her, like, multi-chambered revolver.
It's like an
But
infinity
they all do
Yeah.
that. I mean, they just shoot bullets that
But
kill
there's
people
nothing
like
fun
bullets.
about them, right?
That's
Like-
another thing in Borderlands. Like, there's a gun that shoots guns in Borderlands, and
Yeah.
they do
Fire
crazy
bullets, electricity
things.
bullets. The kills in this game, if you're going for what the fans are looking for, you should have been focusing on the guns and how crazy the abilities are.
Right,
and,
right.
And this movie doesn't touch on that. So again, you're just alienating the people that know the series, that come for
There's
these things.
Isn't there a part where Tina picks up a gun and shoots some people, and then like Lilith takes it away from her? Like, you can't have a gun, but she's like strapped with bombs still.
Yes. She's got like a tiny little revolver and saves Lilith's life.
That's the other thing too. We talked about this in the Fast and Furious movie, which Matt, I mean, here, I know that's gonna wake you up. Tina is a little kid, right? And they're murdering people. Isn't that weird? Like,
I think you could let that go because this is not a real world.
yeah.
Like, this is like this post-apocalyptic wasteland.
But then they address it and then don't, right? Like she takes that gun away, like, you're a little
Right.
kid. But then they don't. There's never like. Then later she's throwing a bomb and it's not a thing.
Yeah,
Pick a
it's just
lane, you know?
weird.
Yeah, sure.
Choose one. Yeah.
So then our team ends up getting together. They're going after they've got 2 keys to the vault. They hook up with Jamie Lee Curtis, who obviously has a history with you and me both.
Nobody saw that cleavage.
I mean, again, it is out there, and it is abundant.
Now that is, if that was like intended to be a joke, the reveal, like her standing up into frame or however they do it, is like, it's like a punchline. It's
interesting
choice,
Jamie Lee
yeah.
Curtis. Did you know?
She's got huge boobs. So now now our whole team is together. We find out that they've got 2 of the keys, so they're going to get the 3rd one. Spoilers: somebody on the team is the 3rd key. And this entire time, we are
Who?
led to believe that it is Tiny Tina
Gotta
because
be.
there's
There's no other clues that it could be anyone else.
none.
No one else that's tied to Pandora with some kind of
that grew up there.
Hey, if they try to
couldn't be
change
anybody.
it up, they better show me some flashbacks, because I cannot keep up.
I will say I do like the idea that this guy, it's almost like the Prestige, where the guy who owns Atlantis found like a sliver
Atlas.
of blood, whatever.
Atlas.
I don't care.
Okay.
A sliver of blood on one of the keys, and they were just making clone after clone after clone to get it to
Yeah.
work. And there's a moment where where Tiny Tina says, I don't want to be basically I don't want to be another clone. Like, I don't want them to do what they've done to the other clones. It's like,
Right.
well, what did they do to the other ones? Like, where are they? Spoilers.
That actor's name is Edgar Ramirez. who
Yes,
plays
he's one of those
Atlas.
guys that you see all the time. Like, you see
Yeah.
that guy all the time.
He was
he's
just one of the main. He was the main guy in season 2 of Doctor Death on Peacock.
Oh, was
I
he?
haven't seen that.
Oh.
Yeah, and
He was
and he-
the bad guy in Jungle Cruise.
Yes.
I believe.
And
So
he played
that's
Versace in the murder of.
That's what. Yeah, and
Versace,
yes,
yeah.
yes. You're absolutely right. But you see him a lot. Like he's like a working
definitely
actor. Spoilers: Lilith is the key, and
Gasp.
yeah, right. Gasp and shock and awe. So we get to the main, I guess, the vault. We had this big knockdown
Boss
drag
level,
out fight.
just say it.
Boss level. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Can I just real quick? I'm reading a thing about differences between the movie and game, trying to look for some answers we asked. So
the game apparently was good.
yeah, that you know what? That's number one. Game is good, movie not. So Lilith is originally 22, but Cate Blanchett is 55. So again, nothing against Cate Blanchett. Everyone ages. We are not ageist. We don't care. But it's just the character is 22. So 22 and 55. Roland is 34. Hart is 45. Tanis is in her 30s. Jamie Lee Curtis is 63. So it's just there's no attention paid to ages.
I
and
think you can.
characters.
One of my favorite tropes in movies is the aging hero, like the hero who is past his prime, who is moving slower, like who at one point was the best, but is moving slower. And there's a ghost behind Tom that was very creepy. Like I like that where he
It's
kind of
neat when you write characters.
correct. So I think
in that situation,
if Cate
right?
Blanchett's character was written to be this amazing bounty hunter who is past her prime in her career, not in her life,
Yeah,
but like is slower and doesn't have the perfect shot anymore, I think that is a different movie. But
Yeah, and I
instead
don't-
she's like jumping over cliffs and she's never missing a shot. Like she's still the same character she would have been at 22.
And the thing is, I know that games, they're adaptations, but they don't have to be exactly the same. But if this movie isn't for the fans of the game, who is this movie
That's a
for?
great question.
And you haven't brought in anything, even close to what the fans are expecting. And then Mad Moxie, who runs a casino in town, is supposed to be in her 40s. Gina Gershon, 62. So
That was
it's
Gina
just-
Gershon?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not
You didn't see her in the
realize.
end credits?
I didn't
is that,
stay. What are you,
is
crazy?
that the character that was not Mae West?
Yeah, I honestly did not recognize her.
But again, in the
And I've
games,
seen- and
like
I've seen
Moxie, they're
Bound
all
a
very,
lot.
Yeah.
I
They're
would
all
I would
very
not.
fun.
I would say that doesn't change her character that much, right?
The
like
Mad
her,
Moxie one doesn't really care.
she's
matter.
a
It's-
madame of a
yeah.
casino, and that's the thing, right? It's like I don't mind if they age up a character or change a character, but if it is going to change who the character, you're a 22-year-old and a 55-year-old are at very different points in their life, and their
and
experiences
Tanis,
are different. and-
Tanis in 30s versus 60s.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the character is very different than what
Here's
it's-
here's a gender reversal equivalent of that. Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher.
That's a great call.
Now that
Yeah,
you've
yep.
seen
Exactly.
what Jack Reacher is supposed to look like, it's even more ridiculous. Like, if you hadn't read the books, you're like, it's just an action movie, and Tom Cruise is doing an action movie guy. Who cares?
and
you
then
s-
Alan Richardson has to walk sideways through a door.
Right, and then you see what the character's actually supposed to be, and you're just like, oh yeah, that is a pretty big difference.
like, why did you do this? What?
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, but just about Jack Reacher, I do think that those book series were popular, but they weren't popular enough that people. There's another ghost. Man, that is a haunted room there, Tom.
Haunted Holiday Inn Express.
Haunted Holiday Inn Express. I don't think there was enough love for those books that people were just like, no, it's not what Jack Reacher looks like.
So, Joe, right
am I
now,
wrong?
you know what you are?
No,
You're a 58-year-old executive sitting in a boardroom telling people that Borderlands doesn't have a fan base. Those books
And also,
are
though,
That's
isn't
fair.
that like
That's fair.
popular. There wouldn't be 35 of them if they weren't popular.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
But-
I didn't think about
but
that.
even with Jack Reacher and all of these things, right? Because I think so they look at a property, they go, this is a popular IP, let's make a movie of it. But then on the other hand, on the opposite side of the coin, they go, hey, but it's not popular enough that anyone will know anything about it.
Right.
And it's just like, why are you doing
And
it?
why'd you pay
if you're
for
gonna
it?
change?
Yeah.
But-
yeah, let me give you an idea. I want to give you an idea of the popularity of Borderlands. So, Borderlands 1, the original game, 2009, 6 million copies sold. By today's standards, that's not a ton, but 6 million times $60, okay, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Borderlands 2, 29 million. 29 million times $60.
That's a lot.
Borderlands 3, 20 million, so it has a little bit of a decline, but 20 million copies sold times $60. I mean, that's over $1 billion.
Yeah.
So
And this movie ain't gonna make half that.
it's still a very relevant. I mean, what was Borderlands 3? Did that come out during COVID? Was it like 2020 or 2020? Oh, no,
wow.
I'm sorry, release date 2021. So this movie
Jeez, really? Feels
Three
like forever.
So
came
wait,
out
so
a long time
three
ago.
was three came out when this was supposed to tie into the
this was
Wow.
this
they
was-
were supposed to tie in together.
they were doing what Last of Us did with
Yeah.
the release of the second game
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the show.
yeah.
So because of COVID, it delayed things, but this was supposed to ride the coattails of Borderlands 3.
Okay.
But again, the game sold 20 million copies. That's over $1 billion in sales. So to think that there's no fans of Borderlands, it's a huge game.
Well, no, I
I
think
mean, imagine how
yes,
big an artist is if they sell 20 million copies of a record.
right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's all you'd be hearing on the radio if you
Yeah.
still listen to
So-
the radio.
Video games, by the way, Tom kind of alluded to it earlier, but the video game industry makes way more money than the film industry. Video games
Because
make
the price
way more
point's so
money.
much higher.
But also the
And
price
people
points
still-
don't change very often. Like they stay. I was actually Bella wants
Yeah.
to play The Last of Us 2, and I was
Yeah.
like, dude, it's still $60. So you can wait till
Oh,
it drops to.
I have a copy of it for you.
Oh, do you?
Huh?
Okay, maybe I'll
And
steal
if
that.
you really like Wolverine and Deadpool, halfway through the movie, they don't tell you, hey, for $30, you can download 8 more minutes.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But so we get to the vault. We get the reveal that Lilith is the fire phoenix thing, and she's
She's a siren.
okay.
And in the games, you know it from her when you choose the character. It's like Lilith is a siren.
Oh, you know immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this movie, so
Jesus.
especially if you played the games, it's frustrating because they have this reveal where, like Matt said, it's so obvious, but you're waiting. But like she's a badass with powers in the game, so she gets to go through this whole movie as just a bounty hunter. And again, like not that can't be cool, but you're like she's supposed to be a siren. You know she's got abilities, and she
I mean, I
just-
will say the visual of her and like the red tank top and the like tactical pants with the giant wings. I was like, that's kind of cool, but it was dumb.
But they can't. She's OP in gaming speak. I mean, you
Oh,
can't.
sure. It's like
How
trying to
do you
make it's
put-
trying to make a Superman game.
Yeah, how do
Yeah.
you put a siren into this movie? I mean, she would just be blowing everyone up. So I kind of get it, but that's why games are hard to adapt, right? Because, and then also too, if you don't make a good one, if it's not well written and interesting to look at, you're not playing, so it's boring. Like games are
Right.
fun because you're playing them.
It would have been nice to get to see her do
Blow
some
some
stuff. Yeah, she doesn't really.
Instead of giving her all this power and then she's thwarted by somebody who has shields.
That's
she
kind
puts
of
a
lot
shield
to
on
ask
everyone.
for Matt. I mean, aren't you hoping they save something for the second one?
Okay, yes, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
just to clear this out, they throw the bad guy into the vault. The guy gets taken by a Cthulhu monster.
And he seems to know what that vault is. Like he's looking at those cubes, going, "Oh, whoa, cool."
Well, so in
What
the
is
games and in
this?
this movie, it's iridium. So the vault is supposed to
It's
have iridium.
unobtainium.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is a power source, which obviously people that are rich and powerful, they can use it for weapons, as take over planets. So he's trying to get iridium. That's what it's always, in the games. That's what people know is in there, and so they're all trying to get in there. But the sirens have, because they're connected to Pandora or whatever, they have some kind of their powers are from the iridium. Is that right, Matt? Like they're drawn
I don't
to it.
remember.
I think that's what powers the sirens. I'm not 100%. So there's supposed to be a connection there.
That you keep saying Pandora, and I know that you're right, but it is. Can you not trademark that name? I guess you can't because
Well,
there's
it
the
came out the same year.
but there's the
as
music service, right? Like there's this. Wasn't Pandora like a streaming music service?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think. I mean,
Then you've got the
I bet
Avatar
there was something
movie.
before that, though.
I'm sure there
Pandora,
was. I just think it's funny
there's
that
a
you.
The
jewelry
box.
shop named Pandora.
jewelry.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that nobody has
It's
trademarked
a-
that.
It's Pandora in Greek mythology. Pandora was the first human woman created by Hephaestus on the instructions of Zeus. So it's a Greek thing.
Yeah,
You
it's
can't.
like-
So you
trying
don't
to-
want to open Pandora's box.
Right.
Pandora's box.
But it's
Well,
like trying
Pandora's
to copyright
playlist.
Zeus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
okay, but I guess I was thinking of like Frankenstein, where Universal says they can't copyright Frankenstein, but
Well, if you wanted to
Somebody
start
else
a
can't-
competing music streaming service and call it Pandora,
Right.
someone would have a word with you.
sure.
But-
But I was thinking like Universal says you can make your own Frankenstein all you want. He just can't look like ours.
Right.
Like this version
Wizard
of
of
Frankenstein.
Oz had the red shoes are MGM.
Right.
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 Exactly.
They're supposed to be diamond, but they're ruby and MGMs.
that's what made it their own thing.
right.
Which is why they keep changing Superman's symbol every
Is that right?
10.
Yeah, like if
oh
you
yeah,
wanna
they
make
keep.
with like Disney ran into that when they made Return to Wizard of Oz.
I
They
see.
actually had to license the concept
Mm-hmm.
of the ruby slippers in order to insert them into that movie because
Right.
they knew everybody'd be like, well, they got to be ruby slippers, and so
right.
Yeah, no, they keep changing his symbol because they can. I mean, his copyright. The copyright on the original look is coming up next year,
Yeah.
soon. But so they keep changing it so they can redo the copyright.
Right.
I have a question. I have a dialogue question that I don't want to forget. And
Okay.
I must have heard it wrong. Must have. Okay, Lilith is talking to Tina. Little moment by themselves. She's talking about Atlas. Lilith says, "He is your father, right?" Tina goes, "Yes and no." I swear, Lilith says it's not a
It's
yes
not
or
a yes
no.
or no or question.
She does say that.
You're 100% correct. And she literally asked a yes or no question.
How? And if she said it's not a yes and no question, I think that it's kind of stupid, but it would make sense, I guess. That was insane.
I think you understand why Craig Mazin, who is a great writer, took his name off this movie because he did not write that line.
Also, she didn't say yes or no. She said both, and she says it's not a yes or no question. And it's like, yeah, that's what I said. I didn't say a yes or no.
She probably was supposed to say it's a yes or no question, and Cate Blanchett said it wrong. She said, "Okay, for ADR, that will be $1 million." And they said,
Yeah.
"No,
Never
thank
mind."
you. We will keep that as a yes or no question.
Yeah, and then so
It
they
was a
get,
no question for the studio.
Tina has she's like, "I thought I was the chosen one." It's like, no, you suck. So no, you're not.
Also, it is strange that like the theme of a movie is, or the the ending is like, "No, little girl, you're
You
not
suck,
special.
kid."
It's this
Yeah.
55-year-old woman."
It is a really weird thing because, again, in the games, Tina has nothing to do with that.
It's funny that
So-
they try to fix that because she goes, "You're special in your own way," which,
Yeah.
as any of us that are parents
That-
or know, that means something else.
yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible writing, and it's sad too because I will tell you some of the set design and the weapons you do see, like, they're pretty cool. Like, they do Claptrap looks like Claptrap, you know what I mean? Like, they visually captured a lot of what makes the Borderlands games very cool, and it's a shame it's wasted on this script because what it comes down to is the script is terrible. And that's pretty much it, right? It ruins the
yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
it's a
it's
bad
kind of
script.
it is kind of wild that they put this out in the summer. Like this feels like it should have been a
And the
January,
dregs-
February.
and the dregs
yeah,
of
it's
summer.
August.
Joe.
I guess that's
It's-
true. That's
Kids
true.
are going back to school.
Yeah,
like-
that's fair. That's fair. You didn't put it up against Deadpool and Wolverine. You're not
I'm in
technically not
Oklahoma
going
for
up
a reason.
against.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
The
only
only
thing
way-
that came out is Cuckoo, which I think got some internet publicity and like
oh, I
people
mean,
were.
I would love.
I'm
to see
looking
that
for
I
it.
you know I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it up, but I felt bad because the last time I brought up a horror movie and Tom agreed to it, it was Longlegs, and I didn't want to do it again. There was a part of me that was like, man, if Cuckoo
would've
sucks.
Went for Cuckoo over this. Even before I
It's
saw
just-
it, I would have went for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you didn't know it was based on a huge property. It's just this is the
Yeah.
movie that's more topical right now. But I mean, I would love to see Cuckoo too. But anyway, so the
already
movie
greenlit a
ends.
sequel.
So
Cuckoo too.
too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dan Stevens is in it. I'll pretty much go see anything with Dan Stevens. Like, dude, that guy's amazing.
So
So
are we
yeah, I
done
mean
here?
that's kind of how it ends.
Yeah.
Is
Was
they
there a
wrap it up
post-credit
and
sequence? I did not stay.
no, it was Claptrap dancing.
I heard
Oh,
Claptrap
God.
talking as I was walking out, and I
Oh,
went,
no.
That's,
There
I
is
don't care."
no post-credit scene. There is a mid-credit sequence where Claptrap comes out and rides it on top of the screen while the credits start rolling from the bottom. And
Oh.
they squish him up and out of the screen, and that's it.
Okay.
Oh, thank God I didn't wait.
Yeah, I heard Jack Black talking. I was like, nah, I'm good.
But
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
but before we totally wrap it up, to Matt's point that he mentioned earlier, this movie ends. They defeat Atlas, and then there is a giant celebration of fireworks. Now, do we all know how much fireworks cost? Like, so this apocalyptic wasteland has a fireworks show.
To
had
set
them
off
at the
when
ready.
this.
Yeah,
Like,
at the
they have a
ready. That's
whole-
right.
I mean, fireworks cost millions of dollars. Even if you're in the post-apocalypse, like you have enough stuff to put on a high-end fireworks show.
Well, they did it in Star Wars, so they should do it here.
That's a good
It's,
point.
They've got all those
it's just weird.
all those bombs. Maybe they were able to.
Yeah, maybe Tiny Tina
just
had
bombs.
a.
Yeah,
But
they're
that's
just
the thing
bombs.
too. In Star Wars, they defeated the Empire.
Correct.
That's what I mean. It's a whole like they're
There's-
free now from like this is a businessman.
They tell us
Right?
in the
Like-
beginning, in the very beginning of the movie, they say, "Oh, and there's all these corporations, and
Yeah,
Atlas
he's
is
just
one of them."
businessman. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, he is involved. Like, so in Borderlands, the games, these corporations are the weapon makers, right? And so that's why
Yes,
he's
yeah.
trying to get Iridium. He wants to have the best weapons and all that stuff. But you're right. There's like three. Every vending machine has these 3 or 4 different corporations. They took out one businessman, and now they're having a multi-million-dollar fireworks show. And it's just like he wasn't their king. He wasn't their ruler. Their enslaver.
I mean, right? The soldiers seem
It's-
to be on the streets causing a hassle, but there's still tons more. And
It's just dumb.
There's not another guy at the company.
Right. Like is Atlas, 'cause
It's
Atlas
just
is
him.
gone,
It's just him.
He had no second in command that now is running
guess.
Atlas. And the other thing is they don't even hint at it, but like Handsome Jack is in the games to some extent and you actually get to play as him. Maybe it's the second or maybe it's the pre-sequel, but he ends up being a big bad guy and they don't even allude to the existence of Handsome Jack, who's one of the main villain characters.
He feels to me like
So-
the villain you would know if you weren't that familiar. Like he's who I would call the villain as someone who played the first 2 when they came out,
Of the
didn't
series,
finish them.
you'd say Handsome Jack's the
And
villain,
I
and they
don't
chose
think he's
the
in the
head of
first.
Atlas as the villain, which is
Yeah.
in the games. Am I correct, Matt, that you don't know the head of Atlas? You don't care who the head of Atlas
I don't think
is?
so. I don't
So
think
they just picked a random villain from a
Yeah.
company, but that's not in the storyline whatsoever. So it's very strange.
That's wild. I do like Cate Blanchett's quote where she's like, I mean, it's not the Grapes of Wrath. It's not Blade Runner. It's its own strange, weird thing. And you look at the casting, there's a motley quality to it.
Perfectly fine in a good
yeah,
script. There's
sure.
Yep.
nothing wrong with the casting and having fun with a movie, but the problem is they really didn't, and the movie is so boring compared to the high octane nature of the games and what you
Yeah.
expect. It's just when we talk about, remember we were talking about people are saying Deadpool and Wolverine are bad.
No,
Like,
Matt said
how-
that. Matt said that.
But,
did say
but
that.
people online are like, this is the worst movie ever made.
Matt also
It's
said
like-
that.
I didn't say that.
but now you watch this movie, and I think it's
100%,
pretty clear
Kevin.
this is a bad movie,
I thought
right?
that as I was rating it on my
Uh-huh.
letterbox, I was like, okay, it's not like I've seen 1-star movies. This isn't a 1-star movie.
This is a 1.5.
It's close.
Yeah.
It's real close.
I've made my 5-star. It's my own thing. 5, I loved it. 4, I really liked it. 3, I liked it. 2, I didn't like it. 1, I hated it. And I just stick to that.
That's
so
a good
if I
way to
hated
do it.
a movie, it's a one. You know what I mean? Like
So what's Deadpool and Wolverine, and what's this?
they're both 1. I think I might have taken this down to a half, but I hated them both, and they're clearly different. I mean, I'm just saying my 1 encompasses kind of a wider
But-
range.
Right.
Sure,
'cause
sure,
what,
sure.
What we were saying was relative. If Deadpool and Wolverine's bad, then what is something like this? And so
Which
that's
is-
where I
and
think-
that's the thing.
which
I
gets
kinda-
tricky, right?
I try to get away from that because, then I'm going to go back to my whole letterbox and go, well, I got to adjust everything now.
Rearrange it, right?
And if I
So-
just stick to this, it's like, okay, yeah.
I
that's
do
fine.
appreciate that
It's-
Letterbox is able to give you the half star. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like now I don't.
think I hate it. I think I don't because then for one, I'm like, why not just a 10-point scale? And then it makes it to I need to get away from granularity to be able to enjoy it because then I get too in the weeds
Too into it.
with it.
Next thing
Yeah.
you know, they're going to be able to
For
let
me,
you do
I-
they're going to let you do 4th stars. Just
I
like
think
a
for
little bit.
for
We need to
normally
come up with our
functioning
own
people, it's probably a
letterbox.
great system.
Yes, we
We need-
should.
Where it's like Tinder and you just swipe right, swipe left.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Oh,
could
you
do
know
it.
what?
That's
What
a
if you
great
could just
idea.
what if you could just put your thumb up or thumb down? That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
Tom's
that's
idea
right.
of like swipe left, swipe right, like that's pretty good.
Yeah. Just be like, yes, no, yes, no.
Yes, no.
I would
like
not
that.
go on a date with this movie.
It is.
well, except
It is a yes. Or
hold
no.
on.
I don't know. Jamie Lee Curtis and Cate Blanchett.
They do look great.
They look
everybody- you know what?
fantastic.
What a handsome cast.
Yeah. Joe, you brought it up earlier, but Cate Blanchett and Thor.
She
is
owns
having
that role.
fun. She's having fun. She's menacing. It looks like she's having a good time. In this movie, she looks so. It's not her fault, but like she just seems uncomfortable. She knows, I think, that she's doing a bad movie, and she just isn't into it. It is my read on that. I don't know.
I
There's
feel like at
no
some point
confidence
she's like,
there.
has Feige approved Wait, we're
Wait, what do you mean? This is in a
This is
Marvel
not
movie?
this is not. Well,
I
son of
thought
a
I was coming
bitch.
back.
I
Damn it.
think she knew she's a good enough actor and she's a great actor where I think saying some of these lines was probably extremely tough for her, where she would deliver it and go like, her body probably fought against it. Is what I'm saying.
Sure, yeah, right.
The check did clear though, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good,
Okay.
good,
It
good.
is nuts, right? Because
Michael
like
Caine was in
she
Jaws
kills-
4. I'll be fine.
she kills those 3 guys in the beginning, kind of with no provocation. I
Are
mean,
we
they're there
starting
to
over, Matt?
Oh,
No, not at all. I'm just saying. So we're set up to be like, oh, she's bad. Like she's not a
A
good
bad bounty
person.
hunter, yeah.
And they never change that. There's never like a moment where we're like, oh, she's changing, right? Like
Sure,
she's
sure.
warming up to Tina or whatever. That never really happens, and that's just weird. It's just weird in a movie that they don't even like follow the playbook.
With Star-Lord, a guy who has worked alone the entire time, he was like, "Oh, I kind of do fit into this team. Like this team, we fit
Yes.
together,
Right.
and we
You
work
have
together."
the moment,
Where in this one, she was just like, "I don't like any of you."
Well,
and never.
Yeah.
we're in agreement.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
we're supposed to know by the end that she does, but we never like have a moment of.
It all goes back to the script, Matt. Very, very bad script.
Yes.
So anyway,
Not
I
next
guess,
week, hopefully.
I guess that is it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, also and Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
Oh, this is Matt. I've been going to the gramophone a lot.
Oh,
That Italian Yardbird, boy oh boy. So probably once a week I'll be down there getting sandwiches.
that's where this hat's from.
I can't see it because it's
Yeah.
backwards. Where's the logo?
Hold on. My hair is wild. I'm not.
You won't do it because of your
All right,
hair?
fine.
Oh my goodness.
Let us see
Prima
that Gramo
donna.
logo. That's it. That's the G.
Yeah, look at that. Perfect.
Let's see. And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Hawk takes Peter home.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already won.